Israel has intensified its military campaign across Lebanon, carrying out fresh strikes near Beirut and in the country south, even as US-backed negotiations between Israeli and Lebanese officials continue in Washington. Lebanese authorities say at least 9 people were killed and several others injured in attacks on Wednesday. According to Lebanon's health ministry, Israeli strikes hit multiple locations across the country, including areas near the coastal city of Tyre on the southern outskirts of Beirut. Among those killed were medics and a Lebanese soldier, while one strike reportedly targeted an ambulance. A separate attack in Kaldeh, just south of Beirut, wounded 2 people and renewed fears that the conflict is once again edging closer to the Lebanese capital. The latest attacks come despite ongoing diplomatic efforts aimed at securing a lasting ceasefire. Reporting from Beirut, regional media described the escalation as a setback for efforts to stabilize the situation, with concerns growing that there is effectively no clear front line in the conflict. Lebanese officials continue to demand a full ceasefire, while Israel says military operations will continue until Hezbollah is disarmed. The escalation also comes days after US President Donald Trump said Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had agreed to cancel planned strikes on Beirut. However, Israeli officials later maintained that military action against targets in and around the Lebanese capital remain an option if Hezbollah attacks continued. In comments to a US podcast, Trump acknowledged tensions with Netanyahu and said he was frustrated by the continued fighting in Lebanon. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu reiterated that any long-term settlement would require what he called the demilitarization of Lebanon and the disarming of Hezbollah. Hezbollah also carried out attacks on Wednesday, saying it fired rockets at Israeli forces in northern Israel. The Israeli military said it intercepted projectiles in a hostile aircraft crossing from Lebanese territory. The exchange highlights the fragile nature of the ceasefire agreed in April, which both sides accuse the other of violating. The conflict in Lebanon has increasingly become part of wider negotiations involving Iran, Israel, and the United States. Iran has repeatedly argued that any broader regional agreement must include a complete ceasefire in Lebanon. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi warned that any future Israeli attack on Beirut could trigger a full return to war. At the same time, Israeli and Lebanese negotiators are holding a 4th round of direct talks in Washington under US mediation.
Israel and Lebanon agreed to the implementation of a ceasefire. The ceasefire is contingent on a complete cessation of Hezbollah fire and the evacuation of all Hezbollah operatives from the South Litani sector. The two sides agreed, with the guidance of the United States, to swiftly advance the creation of pilot zones in which the Lebanese armed forces will take exclusive control of the territory to the exclusion of all non-state actors. These steps will enable progress towards a comprehensive peace and security agreement. All countries affirm the future relationship between Israel and Lebanon must be decided by the two sovereign governments. They reject any attempt by any state or non-state actor to hold Lebanon's future hostage. Israel and Lebanon reaffirm that they have no hostile intent toward one another, committed to continuing direct negotiations to build confidence, resolve all outstanding issues, and work towards a comprehensive agreement between the two countries.
US Secretary of State Marco Rubio said he hopes the two sides can soon agree on a joint statement and a roadmap aimed at improving security conditions in Lebanon.
As I speak to you now for the second consecutive day and for the first time in many, many years, the leaders of the legitimate government of Lebanon and leaders from the government of Israel are seated at the State Department for the second day in a row, and hopefully today we'll produce a joint statement and an action plan on a track for security in that country, independent from Hezbollah, independent from nefarious influence. They had similar meetings last week at the Pentagon at the military level.
The human cost of the conflict continues to mount. According to Lebanon's health ministry, more than 3,500 people have been killed and over 10,000 wounded since the conflict escalated in March. More than 1 million people have also been displaced as fighting expands across southern Lebanon. For now, diplomacy remains active, but with strikes continuing on the ground and tensions still running high, hopes for a lasting ceasefire remain uncertain.